Welcome back to Philippines Uncut. I'm your host, Buddy Conanan. Tonight's topic is Amazing Science with Dr. Rohel Maricese. He's the Program Leader of National Space Development Program. Dr. Cese, welcome to our third and final segment. So, we talked about astronomy earlier, but I want to talk about quickly before we talk about drones. Let's talk about satellites. People listening to us would probably say, why invest in a satellite? There's so many other things. There are so many other areas that need to be addressed. Why don't we just outsource? And if we need these images, why don't we just go to a private company, and there are private companies that own satellites, and just buy the images from them? Why manage something that we may not have? People might be saying we may not have the competency to do in the first place.
Actually, yeah, that's true. A lot of private companies are doing space. They have their own satellite and they try to sell the imagery. But most people don't realize that these images that taken from satellites are actually very expensive. It's not something that's like you go to a photo studio and print and that's it. As of the moment, actually a couple of years ago when we did a study, we found out that the Philippines is spending at least 3.5 billion pesos a year.
3.5 billion?
Billion pesos a year on satellite imagery.
On just
alone.
the pictures?
Yes.
Well, I can go on Google Earth and get it for free.
But then the thing with Google Earth is that it's delayed. Right?
Yeah,
you have several years.
Absolutely.
So if you're doing an operation, you try to, for example, a disaster happens.
Sure.
Let's say in a certain part of the country, and you want to see immediately what's happening there. The best way to do that is through satellite imageries, and there are protocols actually that we can use or we can apply.
Which agencies buy these images? I mean, just some examples. Because 3.5 billion is a lot of money to spend on pictures. Huh?
So actually, almost all the major agencies that are involved with natural resources, we have, of course, the OST, the Department of Agriculture, the DNR, even National Defense, even Transportation and Communication. They're all using.
And they buy satellite images on a regular basis.
Yes, because you need the updated images over time.
3.5
so
billion.
that, and of course, in the future, if these companies suddenly jack up the prices, we have no choice.
No choice. You're hostage.
Yes, we're hostage to that scenario. So that's why it's important for the Philippines to develop its own capability also in terms of imagery, so that we're no longer reliant to other countries or other companies in terms of obtaining these kinds of images that are actually critical for national security and development.
Have you guys at the DOST done studies how much it would save us to actually start our own satellite? I mean, have our own satellite, our space program with the satellite.
Yeah, actually last year we did a cost-benefit analysis, and what we found globally, the average is about for every dollar that's spent in in a civilian space program, the return is about $4.
Wow.
So, but last year when we did the study, based on infrastructure alone, for every peso we invest in a space program, we get about 2.5 pesos in return, and that's just based on infrastructure and savings alone.
Wow.
That doesn't include other intangible benefits such as security, social inclusivity, and so on.
Yeah, very good, very good. Now, okay, let's talk about drones, which is also very connected to aerospace and also to space, right? I mean, similar technologies. Similar theories as well. Okay, first let's define a drone. I mean, we keep hearing the word drone. Drone. What is the definition from your point of view?
Actually, the technical term for a drone is unmanned aerial vehicle, or
UAV.
UAV, or if you're going by the legal definition of ICAO, the civil aviation, it's remotely piloted aircraft system, so RPAS. And basically, these are essentially it's very similar to a plane or a helicopter, but without them, there's no one who's on board the actual. So you're flying the UAV or a drone. That's a popular term. You're flying it without anyone that's sitting there doing it, and you mainly do it only through link, to a communication link. So that's why the two components, you have the UAV, which is the one that flies itself, and you have the controller or the ground station in much larger drones.
Now, what kind of work are you doing? What kind of research or development work are you doing with regard to drone technology,
Yeah.
UAV technology?
For us, we see UAVs as a complementary technology to space. That's why we do also we also do R&D in here. So we try to develop UAVs that are capable of, for example, doing long-range imagery, or meaning long range is like even if you're kilometers away, you can still see what's going on, which is actually useful when you have disasters or you have security situation or you have areas that you want to study but you can't do it because of for one reason or the other. So, and then also the long endurance UAVs, meaning you can fly for several hours, because most of the people would say that, oh, I can just buy in some toy store in the mall, and but then the flying time is only about 10 minutes for that.
What about this thing we have in front of us? How would you classify this? Would this be an entry level UAV slash drone, or would it be like a mid level? Because you mentioned there are some that can fly for hours and
Yeah.
high performance drones and stuff like that. How would you classify this in front of us?
This is a multi-rotor or quadcopter because
Okay.
it has 4 propellers. This one we can classify as late beginner, mid-level, because of course because of the price point of these kinds of drones is very low nowadays. Most people buy this as their first drones, but in certain cases, it's also the first and last time. The first flight
I
is
mean,
the last flight.
It's
so-
also not cheap, huh? I mean,
yes,
like,
it's not.
This one
it's
here,
not
how much
cheap.
would this set you back?
This
if
one
you
is
bought-
about when we bought this last year. It's about I think around 70,000 pesos.
That's an
But
expensive
now
toy.
it's much cheaper. It's around 45.
And then, and if you
nowadays.
crash it and you
Then
can
that's-
wreck it totally, and then that's 70K down the drain.
Exactly. But then the advantage of these kinds of drones that they're very smart. They're already programmed to stabilize itself. They're programmed to sometimes very minimal control that you can fly it with very minimal supervision. But at least you need to learn the basics
Yeah.
of how to fly it and what are also the regulations, because we have regulations when it comes to civil aviation. So that's under the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines.
Yeah. You know, the thing about your field is that, especially when it comes to these things, satellites, drone technologies, etc., it changes so fast.
Yes,
So
exactly.
just keeping abreast of what comes. I mean, in 6 months, you could have something that will make this thing look like a dinosaur, no?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
that's the problem with your field.
Yes, so it's a very dynamic field, so that's why you have to be updated with the advancement in technology, not just in your own field, but also in other fields that can benefit from it. For example, because of the development in semiconductor industries, we can now manufacture components that are really small,
Yes,
very
yes.
lightweight, and you can fit it inside this kind of drone.
Yeah, I think drone technology, the next step would be maybe longer operating time,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
quieter, more efficient motors,
Yes.
smaller, actually getting smaller, no?
It's well, there's a certain there's a threshold of how small
How
we
small
can
you
get,
can make something.
because if it's too small, then that means it's also can be carried away easily by the
Sure,
wind
yeah.
when you're doing outdoors.
Good point,
We
good
we
point.
have we call them toy drones that can actually fit in the palm of your hand. But you mainly fly it indoors. When you try to fly it outside, it's like, okay, it's fighting against the wind.
Yeah. No, how? I mean, is DOST already experimenting with drones? Are you guys doing this and trying to see that what are the practical applications for people in your field? Because you know, aside from this, you know, a lot of agencies of government need photos, right, from the air, aerial shots and stuff like that. And in days past, they would need to get a helicopter.
Yes.
And those are expensive, no?
Exactly.
I mean, whereas you get this thing, and I mean, the cost 70,000 for this is the cost of maybe an hour, 2 hours of flying time
Yes.
for a chopper, and you already have a drone.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So actually, it's not just DOST, but even the other agencies, like even Department of Agriculture is trying to use drones to survey affected areas of farmlands, essentially. So, and even a lot of our universities are also doing drones. But mainly the focus is more on surveying and mapping applications, because there's a need to accurately map our country.
Is DOST taking the lead in exploring drone possibilities for surveillance or drone use for government use? Are you guys taking the lead in this regard?
In terms of drones, I think DOST is trying to come up right now with a roadmap on how to develop the technology for the next few years, and how the different stakeholders like the universities and the end
Yeah.
users are going to be involved in that kind of, but it's still in the middle of crafting that kind of roadmap. But other agencies like the Department of Agriculture, Environment and Natural Resources, they're already utilizing this in the field. There are some programs that are actually recommending the use of drones for certain applications like disaster assessment and things like that.
For R&D, I mean, what R&D initiatives are you personally following or pursuing with regard to drone technology?
For me, one of the things that we are doing in terms of research and development is how to extend the life of the drone in terms of the flight time.
Yeah.
And also how to fly it in a very long range and increase its capability, making sure that if we have one drone, it's not just designed for one application, but also for other applications, like it can carry cargo, it can carry different sets of cameras, it can carry, for example, communications device, so that the platform would just be as one platform. It's just a matter of changing the payload, which increases the usability of the drone itself.
Amazing, amazing. This is the future today.
Yes.
The future. No, I mean, this stuff was a dream 10, 15 years ago. And now,
Exactly,
it's
yes.
happening.
Now
Very
it's
exciting
happening,
times,
yes.
especially for you guys in the sciences. Now, we have a few minutes to close. I understand that there's a big event happening in November this year. It's the Asia Pacific Regional Space Agency Forum. Wow.
Yeah.
That's like a big
So-
powwow of all the biggest minds of, in space.
In space, yeah. It's a 23rd Asia Pacific Regional Space Agency Forum, and it's happening in November, in the middle of November, I think 14 to 18 that week. It's going to be held here in Manila. So,
Wow.
which is, it's, in some cases, people would ask, why are we hosting a space agency forum when we don't have a space agency itself?
yeah.
So, but then that's one thing. It also shows us that we can do something.
It rotates the hosts of this
Yeah.
Asia Pacific. I'm sure it moves
Yeah,
around.
it
no?
goes around the whole Asia
Asia Pacific,
Pacific region.
yeah.
Last year it was in Indonesia. The year before was Japan. Before that was Vietnam, and then Malaysia.
Yeah.
But this is the first time that the Philippines is hosting.
You know, I think I just hope that you guys can, with the cooperation for lawmakers and the decision makers and stuff like that, can jumpstart really
Yes.
this national space development program. So I mean,
Eventually, it will transition into a
a
national,
national space
agency.
agency,
Yes.
because this would be an excellent time to announce it, no? That
Yeah.
we actually have the Philippines are actually ready.
Yeah, we're actually doing something.
Even just a
moving
program.
forward.
We finalized the program. We're gonna roll it out, no?
Yes, that's true.
Excellent. Before we go, you want to say some words to the viewers? Maybe promote space and science?
Yeah, I think for everyone who's interested in space, this is the time that we try to use space to something that is beneficial for us. And this is because we've done a lot of groundwork, and what we're doing right now, hopefully this is something that everyone will benefit in the future, not just our generation, but even the future generation. So we hope that the space program will eventually transcend a lot of social classes, and also promote economic growth and national development and security.
Bravo. Dr. Cesar, thank you so much for coming
Thank you.
all the way from Laguna to GNN.
Yes.
We really appreciate it. I'm sure our viewers appreciate it. And we'll have you in the show again, especially as the Asia Pacific Regional Space Agency Forum
Yes.
comes nearer, draws nearer. So we can talk about what you guys are doing to prepare and what we will showcase during this very prestigious, very comprehensive forum on space.
It's my pleasure. Thank you,
Excellent,
Brian.
sir. Thank you. So guys, I hope you enjoyed our talk on space and science. Join us again next week here in Philippines Uncut, where we talk about what matters to you guys, because you guys matter the most. I'll see you next week.